This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. We got some breaking news on the Jack Smith front as he comes to the conclusion of his charging decisions for January 6th, the coup, and Donald Trump. You're not just going to have one indictment of Donald Trump. You're going to have at least two more. One could be coming as early as next week. And the focus now, as multiple witnesses have reported, is on this December 18th, 2026 hour screaming match unhinged meeting between what I'll refer to, paraphrasing a Jan 6 testimony of Eric Herschmann and others, as Team Abnormal, led by Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and Pat Byrne of Overstock.com, for some unknown reason, against Team Normal, Pat Cipollone, White House General Counsel, Deputy General Counsel Eric Herschmann, Cassidy Hutchinson playing a role to protect democracy, as they battled it out in front of Donald Trump on the 18th of December. Same day, by the way, those that follow closely will remember that Donald Trump tweeted that evening, "Come to Washington, D.C. on Jan 6th. It'll be wild." You know what was wild? The 6-hour screaming match, this battle royale caged match between the wacko advisors led by Sidney Powell, who was angling to become that day the special counsel, the Jack Smith of the election interference, because based on her unsupported claims, and that we know now is a lie, that Venezuela helped flip the election and stole it from Donald Trump and gave it to Joe Biden. She was pushing that every day, every way in lawsuits. And now she had the ear of the president, along with her other sycophants, Rudy Giuliani and Pat Byrne, an advisor to the president, because, I don't know, he likes to take advice from people who sell pillows and old, outdated, discounted stock. I guess that qualifies you to sit in the White House and tell the president how to overthrow democracy. And what were they doing that day? Well, we know what they were doing that day because you've heard about this particular meeting before, because the Jan 6th committee on the 7th day, their 7th hearing, outlined every detail of it. And that perked the interest, of course, of Jack Smith, who used the transcripts of the people who testified, and others who took the Fifth Amendment, and then completed his own investigation. We know from multiple witnesses, including Rudy Giuliani, who gave 2 days of proffer, meaning testimony, on the record, but not before the grand jury, to Jack Smith's prosecutors. And he was asked about this particular meeting. Why is this meeting so important? For many, many reasons. Shows the state of mind of Donald Trump, that he was taking visitors to the White House who were advocating for the overthrow of democracy, the overthrow of the government, clinging to power in the final days. He was only a couple of weeks away from not being president anymore. He's going to appoint a special counsel. He's going to change who's the acting attorney general in order to implement his plan. The answer to that is yes. In this crazy meeting that pitted Team Abnormal versus Team Normal, it starts with Giuliani, Pat Byrne, Overstock.com, and Sidney Powell sneaking their way into the White House, into the Oval Office through a junior staffer, and they get to meet with the president for 20 minutes talking about, get this, martial law, which is the president's power to suspend the Constitution, writs of habeas corpus, meaning people can be held in jail without due process for a period of time under usually his war powers. So he's going to use martial law, this is what they were telling him he could do, to seize the voting equipment and overturn the election results. So that's going on for 20 minutes. They're pushing Venezuela software hardware fraud, which has been completely debunked in 70 different lawsuits by federal and state judges, by the head of the cybersecurity division of Department for America, from the CIA, from the FBI, from the Department of Justice, from Bill Barr. Everybody has refuted that. It's the basis of Dominion voting machines getting almost $1 billion settlement from Fox News. And yet here's Sidney Powell, the architect of the big lie, pushing it. The timeline that's important here, where does this fit in? December 18th on the coup calendar, right? On the coup calendar, you have December 14th, 7 battleground states have fake electors that get together, use a fake wax seal and, a quill pen and sign election certificates, alternate election certificates, elector certificates to send to Mike Pence to recognize and overthrow the election and give it to Donald Trump. That's the 14th. On the 18th, these three wackos get their way into the White House and for at least 20 minutes without anybody else in the room, start promoting martial law, Venezuela fraud, make Sidney Powell the special counsel and give her all those powers that Jack Smith has. And what happens next? Cassidy Hutchinson, if you remember her, the assistant to Mark Meadows, finds out about it and goes and gets Pat Cipollone, White House General Counsel, who hightails it down to the West Wing or down to the Oval Office with Eric Herschmann in tow, break into the office and basically say, what the F is going on here? And who are you people? In fact, in his testimony, Pat Cipollone took one look at Pat Byrne, the head of Overstock.com, and said, who are you? And he said, this is my artist rendering. Oh, I'm the president of Overstock, CEO of Overstock.com. Okay, what are you doing here? I mean, he'd already known Sidney Powell. He's been trying to keep her, at arm's length, trying to, kind of keep her, give her the Heisman out here, keep her away from Donald Trump all this time. Rudy Giuliani, of course, he knew. Mark Meadows, who's supposed to be literally the gatekeeper for the White House, he's nowhere to be found. Right, he didn't come until 6 hours later when he escorted Rudy Giuliani and the others out to make sure they didn't do a button hook and make their way back and sneak back in to see Donald Trump in his bedroom. I mean, that's how long this meeting went. This meeting was so crazy and so crazed and so unhinged that Cassidy Hutchinson texted the head of the Secret Service, Tony Ornato, and said, the West Wing is unhinged today. Right. And then later that night, Donald Trump, after all these people left, still vibrating from their crazy theories and his attempt to perpetrate a coup, text, come Jan 6, it'll be wild. That is the chronology. And we know it because of the Jan 6 committee on the 7th day. Let's listen to Jamie Raskin describing exactly the meeting that we know Jack Smith is now focused on through multiple reports. Let's go.
So let's return to that meeting at the White House on the evening of December 18. That night, a group showed up at the White House, including Sidney Powell, retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, and former Overstock.com CEO Patrick Byrne. After gaining access to the building from a junior White House staffer, the group made their way to the Oval Office. They were able to speak with the president by himself for some time until White House officials learned of the meeting. What ensued was a heated and profane clash between this group and President Trump's White House advisors, who traded personal insults, accusations of disloyalty to the president, and even challenges to physically fight. The meeting would last over 6 hours, beginning here in the Oval Office, moving around the West Wing, and many hours later, ending up in the president's private residence. The Select Committee has spoken with 6 of the participants, as well as staffers who could hear the screaming from outside the Oval Office. What took place next is best told in their own words, as you will see from this video.
Did you believe that it was going to work, that you were going to be able to get to see the president without an appointment?
I had no idea.
In fact, you did get to see the president without an appointment.
We did.
How much time did you have alone with the president? And I say alone, you had other people with you, but
right
from his aides before the crowd came running?
Probably no more than 10 or 15 minutes.
Was in that...
I bet Pat Cipollone set a new land speed record.
I got a call either from Molly or Herschmann that I need to get to the Oval Office.
So that was the first point that I had recognized, okay, there was nobody in there from the White House. Mark's gone. What's going on right now?
I opened the door and I walked in. I saw General Flynn. I saw Sidney Powell sitting there. I was not happy to see the people in the Oval Office.
Explain why.
Well, again, I don't think they were providing. Well, first of all, the Overstock person, I've never knew who this guy was. Actually, the first thing I did, I walked in, I looked at him, and I said, "Who are you?" And he told me. I don't think any of these people were providing the president with good advice.
And listen to that. 6 hours raging throughout the White House and in different wings of the White House, including the personal quarters. Starts with 20 minutes of Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and Pat Byrne alone with the president. Pat Byrne running into the burning building, basically to save democracy, because Cassidy Hutchinson mentioned it to him. He moved so fast that even Sidney Powell, you heard on the clip, had a joke. I think Pat Cipollone set his land speed record. He did, right? To save the baby, save democracy. And then you had the testimony of Pat Cipollone saying his first thing was looking at Pat Byrne, the Overstock guy, going, who are you? And what are you doing here? Right? And then they battled it out. Eric Herschmann, in very colorful language to the Jan 6 committee, said he basically told Sidney Powell she was a effing nut and that her theories about Venezuela were completely unsupported and that was effing nuts, and that that she's lost every case that she supported. Sidney Powell being promoted to be the special counsel, right? This is a woman who almost lost her bar license. I mean, just this close. If she wasn't a Texas lawyer and they didn't rally around her and protect her in the Texas bar, the Texas Supreme Court, she would have lost her bar license. So, that the fact that they were even thinking about that, and martial law, they're going to suspend the Constitution. And the people that participated in some of these discussions are not just what I just identified. It included, as the day raged on, it included Donald Trump's head of national security, Donald Trump's head of national intelligence, Donald Trump's acting director of Homeland Security, Ken Cuccinelli, sorry. All of these people basically told Donald Trump, Mr. President, you can't do that. You can't declare martial law. You can't seize the voting machines. You can't suspend the election results, and you can't stay in office. This all goes for Jack Smith into the mens rea, the criminal mind, the willfulness of Donald Trump, because to convict him of a crime, forget the indictment. They're going to get the indictment. That's on a probable cause standard. It's just probable cause, a much lower standard. Jack Smith wants a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt, and he's got to show that jury, not so much the grand jury, the jury, that Donald Trump did these things with willful intent and knowledge, criminal mind. We call it mens rea. And meetings like this one and all the gory, colorful detail I just gave you and Jamie Raskin reported on Jan 6 goes to that particular issue, right? As Jamie Raskin said, they almost accidentally toppled democracy. This bumbling band of idiots, the Watergate burglars on steroids, almost toppled America. And Donald Trump was not only a willing participant, right? He's the hub for all the spokes in the conspiracy. He's turning the wheel. He's not victimized by these people. This isn't addled Donald Trump, 90 years old, being financially abused, elder abused by his nurse. Okay, this isn't elder abuse. This is conspiracy. This is a coup. And one the Jan 6 committee called out a long, long time ago. We're going to continue to report only on the MeidasTouch network right here on hot takes just like this one, about every day, if not every hour, exactly what Jack Smith is focused on as we learn about it. Bring it to you so you can make your own decisions while we sit at that intersection of U.S. law and politics, those politically charged litigation matters and criminal indictment matters that we're talking about here. I've been a practicing lawyer for 32 years in courthouses, courtrooms just like this one, on matters just like this one. And I'm giving you the benefit of my knowledge and my experience in how I report. We pull it all together on a podcast on Wednesdays and Saturdays, also on the, you guessed it, MeidasTouch network, called Legal AF. If you like this kind of content, give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment, right? I'll come back. We'll open a dialogue together. You can follow me on all things social media, including Threads, at MS Popok. This is Michael Popok, Legal AF reporting.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.